Donna. So I've heard you talk amazingly about, when your kids were born and just what it was like before they were born and when you first met them. So do you want to share some
Yeah,
about them?
yeah. Well, let's start with Shawnee Pawnee because he, of course, was the first. And I was so scared. I was so excited about being pregnant, and I so wanted to have children. And I was so happy being pregnant, but I was gigantic, and he was a real rebel inside. He was constantly moving, and it was. I remember being in meetings at work, like kind of embarrassed because I was so huge with him, and he would roll, and my entire belly would roll, and all the fabric on my clothes, and I'm like hoping that people aren't seeing my child has got his arm out, and he would put his butt out. So like, I mean, you could feel his little butt. It was crazy, and that was just like so miraculous to be able to experience a human inside you like that, and just the joy, like the first time you felt him kick was like, oh, magnificent. So then it came time to, I'm huge, to have the baby, and that was the first time I got scared because I'm like, oh my God, why did I do this? I don't I don't want to give birth. I was so freaked out, and there was nothing I could do. It was clearly too late. So away we went. But I was clearly stressed. I had a really difficult labor, and it was all in my head. You go to these Lamaze classes, and they scare the poop out of you with all the stories and all the pain. And in reality, which I learned with Ellie, it wasn't that bad. If I would have just gone natural, it would have been an easy peasy. But I had a difficult labor. Sean and Ellie, neither one of them wanted to come out. They were as they are now. They love warm, comfortable spaces. They love sleeping. So they're like, yeah, no, we're not coming out. So they had to suck Sean out with suction and forceps. Bless his little heart. And he was huge. So I remember him in the hospital. He was calm. And the nurses, he was blue-eyed, and of course most kids are born blue-eyed. And I remember the nurses, multiple ones of them came and said, he's going to be blue-eyed. And I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah, he has the real blue eyes. I'm like, yeah. And as we're walking out of the hospital, I'm holding him, and they, of course, you have to go out in a wheelchair. And Sean's like looking all around and everything. And the nurse is looking at him and looking at me, and she's like, that is really abnormal for a kid that's just born. I mean, he's so alert, and he's tracking everything. I'm like, of course he is. Of course I have the smartest child in the world. So that's how it started. You were brilliant at the beginning, Shawnee. So he was a very hard child to keep happy, though. So he was a bit rough as an infant because he was constantly hungry. And I was stressed because I was a first-time mother, and I wanted to be perfect. And I worried about everything. I remember there's a book that's called What to Expect When You're Expecting, which of course I read so many times while I was pregnant. And then the next book is What to Expect the First Year of your baby's life. And it was before the internet, thank God. So I could only rely on books. So I, of course, read like a crazy woman about everything. And I was sure that, I would do something wrong. So when a baby's born, the first times that they poop, this is more information than anybody needs, but this gives you an idea what we went through. It's called meconium, something like that. And it's like tar, it's like black, disgusting stuff. And it came out as it was supposed to. But of course, Phil and I were worried, like, was it enough? Was it too much? We're analyzing every single time the kid takes a poop in a diaper, fretting. So at one point, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and of course Sean needed to be fed like every hour, every 2 hours, and he's getting changed in his diaper, and his changing table is next to a window, and it has those little teeny Levolor blinds, and Sean has diarrhea, and he projectile diarrheas all over the Levolor blinds and all over the window. And Phil and I were we just started cracking up because we were so tired. It was so overwhelming. And that was Sean. So we were paranoid as parents, and that translated to him. So we got better, obviously, as we went on. And one of the most pivotal memories I have of Shawnee is he was so able to entertain himself. After he got through the feeding thing, once we got on the bottle and he got enough food, he was just the most mellow kid. And he would take a diaper and he would walk around. We had a house that went kind of in a circle, and he would walk with only in his diaper, holding a diaper, and he would talk. Now, he didn't have the use of language yet. He hadn't gotten to words, but he would just babble with full expression. And it was like he was having some profound thing he was saying. And he would just talk literally for 15, 20 minutes as he went around in the circle, gesticulating, waving the diaper. It was like amazing to watch. Anyway, that was Shawnee. All right, so that's Shawnee in the first part of his life. Now Ellie. So Ellie came and started talking to me early. Everybody knows about the dream, so we're not going to go over that, where she introduced herself, hence where she got her name. But she was completely different. So as a baby, she was much more mellow. She didn't do quite the gymnastics. Her labor was, I was already pushing before they had the epidural in, so she was well on her way. And she was just peaceful. She came out, she was serene. She just would lay there. She'd be like, yo, happy to get fed, happy to just be rocked. She was just the most mellow baby, and she laid out flat with her hands up, which is very abnormal for babies. She was just completely peaceful. And everybody would remark about that. You could just, and she was gorgeous. So she would just lay there and be beautiful. It was amazing. So the day I got out of the hospital, we went to the mall. She was just so easy. It was great. So, and she was like that until she, of course, turned to a toddler and she became hell on wheels. But anyway, I remember one of the stories, and I think I've told her this, and I've written it down on pieces of paper somewhere, and it was on a computer because it was so memorable, and now, of course, it's fuzzy. But we were in our house in Wisteria, and Ellie must have been like 2 or 3, maybe, tops, and we're going down the stairs, and she was upset about something. I'm like, why are you upset? And she said, Mommy, we need to talk. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, you really didn't listen. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What did I didn't listen? And she said, when I was in your tummy, I kept trying to talk to you. You didn't hear me. I'm like, well, Ellie, you weren't born yet. And she's like, but you played a lot of loud music. And I wanted to talk to you, and I wanted you to realize that I was coming because you and I would be free together, and you needed to understand these things, but you weren't listening. And I'm like, holy crap. And she just went through this sort of dialogue about what she and I were going to be for each other and how she was coming into my life. And these were all thoughts that she had before she was born that she needed to articulate. It was the wildest thing. I couldn't believe she was talking to me that way. But that's Ellie.
Yeah. So she really wanted you to know all those things.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Anyway, 2 brilliant children. What can I say?
Amazing. Thank you.